Hello, friends. Welcome to Wednesday night. We are here live from Plastown, New Hampshire, and always excited to spend some time with you. I had said before that we are going to spend a couple weeks talking about who we are at Brookridge before we dive back into Romans and the controversy and challenge that await there. But we're excited. We're not skipping over it. We're not afraid of it. We just wanted to start off the year with a few things about who we are and some encouragement. So, speaking of encouragement, two things about Christmas decorations at Brookridge. Number one, they don't go up by themselves. Number two, they don't come down by themselves. But I will say, fun fact, they are a lot easier and a lot quicker to take down than they are to put up. So this Sunday, January 14th, right after church, we would love to have a few or a lot of families stick around just for a few minutes afterwards to help us get all the trees and all the decorations down so we could transition over to our winter sets and decorations. That's all I have to say about that. Would love to have you stick around for takedown. Okay. Let's see who's here so far. Pastor Brian Spicer, one of our faithful followers, as I am of him. You can go see him right after at 7:30. Bay State goes live. He's going through the book of Ephesians. Very cool stuff. Minor prophets to Ephesians. And we're excited about that. We like Brian. Layla's here. Hey, Layla. Jess is here. JT's here. AJ's here. All right, we got a crew. So let's do this. We got a couple things. I found an artist that did some illustrations that I thought were kind of cool about adulting. Oh, Megan Mather. People want to know who my last boss was in the outside non-church world. It was her. And we are still friends because she's fantastic. All right. Here we go. We are going to go to... Oh, yeah. I said I found an artist that I like to see. It took me like 2 seconds to get distracted from this. All right. So a few things about adulting, which I thought were... some of them are kind of sad, and some of them are very funny. So I have so much to do today. I can't do anything. I think we've all been there. Hey, the best feeling, going to bed without an alarm set for the next morning. Oh, that is fantastic. Except when you have cats and they're going to wake you up regardless of when you have an alarm. I love this. Megan, you would appreciate this because everything at United Healthcare is about business days. My possible response times, 0.5 seconds or 5 to 7 business days. My mom is here. Hi, Mom. Starting a new job after first week. I have no idea what I'm doing. After 1 year, they have no idea what they're doing. Oh, it's funny times because that's how we are as people. Adulthood, half struggling to stay awake, half struggling to fall asleep. You know, adulting is so much fun. Why I have a chair in my bedroom to sit in a little bit, mostly to store piles of clothes. The reason I have a blanket on the chair behind me is because there's a pile of t-shirts there and I was embarrassed. So there you have it. The life of a dog. And I would say the life of a cat as well. Pretty much doing whatever they want. This is maybe some ladies, maybe some guys. If you're a frequent traveler, when do I unpack my suitcase? Mostly when I need my suitcase for another trip or when I get back home. That's kind of funny where I look during a Zoom at myself or at the other person. I have a picture of, I could see myself right here, and I try not to look at myself very often. So I'm trying to look at you all, although this isn't a Zoom. Hey, text from my anxiety. It's June. I know. Look how fast time is passing. Have you accomplished anything? It's good thoughts as we just finished all of our resolution time in January. Suitcase. Yeah, Megan's a frequent traveler. Why do all my groceries look like this and my plants look like this? It's a true story. It's a lot easier to let stuff grow in your vegetables. The Thanksgiving food pyramid with antacid right at the top. Yep. It's good food. Probably not great for us. 2 types of people in this world, bowl of cranberries or can of cranberry sauce. So if you're like me, Neither one. Here you go. That's a little Venn diagram, I believe this is called. The desire to do everything, desire to do nothing ever again. Right in the middle. This I thought was pretty hilarious. Kate Nines is a funny artist. A dream bedroom. Just outlets all over the place. Taking a short nap. Expectations are, hey, just going to rest for 5 minutes. Wake up, and it's like Rip Van Winkle. You've been sleeping for 100 years. Work hard so you can play hard or stare mindlessly at your phone. Very sad that we as a society have drifted into that, but that's for another day. Another text from my anxiety. Hey, you forgot to turn off your hair straightener. Pretty sure I turned it off. Are you though? We have this. I think about this about the garage door. Did I leave the garage door open or did I not? Now they make things that you can attach to the garage door so you can remotely, I was going to say detonate it. You don't want to detonate your garage door. You just want to shut it and open it. So thought about getting one of those, but not sure I need to invest it just because I'm a crazy person. Two types of people in this world. Very organized, very disorganized. If your desktop looks like that, I don't even know. It's very sad. Me does one setup and checks for abs. We're not blowing up things. Brookridge Community Church does not support that. There you go. So hard to drink 8 glasses of water a day, but we could drink 8 glasses of anything else. And so it's a lot of real facts dropped there. All right. So we go from adulting struggles to just flat out adulting fails. These are people, remember, we're supposed to just feel good about our lives after we look at these. Packed my lunch in the dark. That's not an orange or whatever else she was trying to grab there. Just a lemon. Not going to sink your teeth into that. Oh, the cake fell. Very sad. Here we go. Somebody's card collection that took hours and hours and hours to put together is now going to take probably more hours to collect and put back together. It's very sad. Oh, this is one of these classic, who did this for Christmas, what I ordered versus what I got. Be careful of scammers, people. Careful what you order off the interwebs. Yep. Looks like you fell through the ceiling, and that is confirmed. Yes, I did fall through the ceiling. Hey, when you decide to share your squash with some friends, as far as I'm concerned, they can have that whole thing. Squash is gross. I dropped the dough. It's, again, very sad. Well, it's no good when a frozen pine cone shatters your back windshield. Or window, I guess. Hey, soup glasses. This is sad. She said no. Now we're selling the ring. That's spilled cocoa powder all over my sheets. Man, hey, that is not ideal. If you're playing Scrabble and you have that, you should trade in all your tiles. Yeah, I know it's sad. I tried not to spend too much time on the engagement ring that had to be sold. Something was wrong with my cat's food. I think I've told you, AJ and I were at a baseball game once, and the Red Sox will do engagements live. And so they get him up on the big screen. Guy asks the girl to marry her, gets down on one knee, and she says no. It was super awkward. Yeah, that's the worst. You should know what the answer is going to be before you ask. That's just a public service announcement right there. Something's wrong with my cat. There is something dreadfully wrong with that. That's the lemon they were given for their drink. Ew. Send that right back. Fruit, I know lemons help your water taste better and everything, but there are horror stories about what happens to that fruit, like in the kitchen. Like it all stands around, everybody's touching it. Like, I don't know. Just straight water for me. Here you go. Package was delivered. It's now under a mountain of snow, but it's there. Kelly Skulski. Hey, how you doing? Yeah, so delivered, yes, under a mountain of snow, not good. Found some friends in my soup. That you do not want that. That is no good at all. Again, excited to open and cook up some steak, and then it looks like that. Technically, you know what? Yeah, that's gross. I can't even. It looks like I charged my AirPods a little too hard. That is very true. They're lucky they didn't have a complete house fire with the way that plug looks. Went to change the air filter and realized that I never took it out of its packaging. That's one of the first things they say on the when you're unwrapping something that has a filter like this. It's make sure you unwrap the filter before you start using it. And there's it. Bought a new deck of cards. Something looks wrong. They're all 5s of diamonds. Like cool for maybe a magic trick, but not cool for any other reason. So yeah, it's tough. Fails. All right. So hopefully you feel better about your life and your food. So yeah, that's all for that. Okay. Next couple weeks, I wanted to cover our story at Brookridge, which for those of you who track with us at all know that we love the story in John 4 about the woman at the well. And so I kind of wanted to share, which will be a reminder for some of you that have been with us for a while, and for others of you that aren't as familiar with us, it's kind of a cool thing to hear why we connect with this so much. So we're in John chapter 4, through the first few verses tonight, and then hit the rest of the story next week. I just have this up here so you know that I'm not just saying things. It's for reals. We're going through the Bible, and let's do this. So, we at Brookridge, our motto is relationship leads to redemption. We believe in building relationships with God. We believe in relationships with each other, and we believe that a solid community is really important, and it leads to redemptive conversations. Our relationship with God leads to redemption for us. And our mission is that we invite people to experience the grace and forgiveness of Jesus while following him with us. So when we talk at Brookridge about our strategy for building relationships that lead to redemption, our first step is to attend. We have attend, connect, transform, send. We tried to make it easy. We followed ACTS as an acronym. So attend, connect, transform, send. And when we say attend, we start with the fact that you were created by God to have a relationship with him, which means the greatest thing that any individual can do is pursue intimacy with God. And attend, in that sense, can mean come, like show up. And it can also mean to care for or to nurture, to attend to. So we want you to come up. We want you to come, show up in person, online, and attend to your relationship with God by experiencing him and engaging him with us. So our story in John 4 is the woman at the well. You have to love the fact that when Jesus was on his way to Galilee, he cuts through Samaria, and it comes to be noon. And like you and I would, he stops at a well, right? Let's not miss that part, because I think it's important for us to connect with the reality that Jesus was God in human form. Just like you and I, he was fully God and fully man. The miracle of the incarnation noted in John chapter 1, where he said the word became flesh and dwelt among us. So he's Jesus Christ, God, the creator, the originator of the universe, born into human form. And he's tired just like you would be after a long walk from Judea on the way to Galilee. If you've never been in that part of the world, it gets really hot there, like super hot. And so at about noon, Jesus and his crew stop at a well in the wrong part of town. Why was Samaria the wrong part of town? Verse 4 says he had to go through Samaria. He had to pass through there. Had to go makes it sound like a geographical necessity, like there was no other way to get there. It wasn't. In fact, through Samaria was the one way that Jewish people would not go, because the Jews and the people of Samaria didn't like each other. The Jews considered themselves to be the religiously pure line of Abraham, and the Samaritans were just kind of a mishmash of everybody else, and were reduced to the low end of the totem pole, the Jewish order of who's in with God. He was drawn there. Yeah, it's a big deal. Big deal. So they weren't in the right lineage. They weren't good enough. They didn't measure up spiritually. And if you were a Jew, you wouldn't go through Samaria unless you absolutely had to. And if you had to, you'd totally ignore everybody. You'd look down your nose at them. You'd make sure that they knew that they were Samaritans and that you were a Jew and that you were better than them. So here's Jesus at the well, 12 o'clock. Verse 6 says he's weary, that he was tired. And you love that. You got to love that, right? Because if you ever thought, I don't know if I can do this thing called a relationship with Jesus because I don't think he can really understand my life. Oh, my buddy Scott Maiden, pastor, Southern Massachusetts, good guy. So if you're like, I don't know if I can do this thing, Jesus doesn't really understand me, he can totally understand your life. When you sit down in the middle of whatever it is that you're doing and you're like, I am just tired. He's like, I know. Remember that time I walked all day and then sat down at Jacob's well? It was just like that. Oh, yeah, I forgot, Jesus, that you came in a human body. So while Jesus is hanging at the well, his disciples cook up a plan. They're going to go into town. They're going to get lunch for everybody and then come back. So they leave Jesus alone. I don't know if they drew straws to decide who gets lunch or if Jesus just said, hey, you guys go to Chick-fil-A and I'll stay here. Now, a well was the social gathering place back then. Women would go at sundown to get water, to see people, to chat, to gossip, to argue about which restaurant made the best burger. Like no one was at the well when Jesus showed up, though. Why? It was noon and way too hot to lug water around. Going to the well at noon back then would be the equivalent of going to the supermarket at like 3 a.m. today. Nobody does that. But this lady shows up and Jesus starts a conversation with her. And if you don't know the context of the story, it was a big time no-no to do that. You're a man, she's a woman. In their culture, you don't do that. She's not your wife. You don't talk to her. Also, she's a Samaritan. You're a Jew. You don't talk to her. Doesn't look good. Doesn't make you look good. It's bad for like 100 different reasons. So you mind your business. She minds her business. You wait for the guys to get back. She draws her water and goes back into town. That's the way it goes down at Jacob's well. So it's awesome to me in the story that when Jesus shows up, things go down differently than what they would normally go down. If he's not in your world, expect the average and the normal and the ordinary. But if Jesus Christ is in your life, in your world, and in your circumstances, you can expect that things might go down differently than they would have otherwise. John 2, a couple chapters before this, records Jesus' miracle at the wedding at Cana. They run out of wine, and Jesus pulls off like the vintage stuff, like the best at the last minute. That's what he does. That's who he is. He doesn't go, oh, you're out of wine. Well, you know what? I've been here for a couple hours myself. I'm a little tired. No, he blows their mind with the best stuff they'd ever tasted, water to wine. And on this day, things didn't go down normally either. Like, don't talk to that woman. Don't talk to any Samaritan for that matter. The woman has a bucket and there's a well. So Jesus asks what seems like a logical question in verse 7, could I get a drink or give me a drink? Innocent. She could have just said, got him a drink, and then who knows what would have happened. But she realizes this isn't normal. So when he says, can I get something to drink? She comes back in verse 9 and says, you are a Jew and I'm a Samaritan woman. See, that's 2 strikes against me. How can you ask me for a drink? Jews do not associate with Samaritans. 2 reasons that you shouldn't be talking to me at all. So when she come back with, hey, that's not normal. That's never happened before. What in the world are you doing talking to me? Because you can't talk to me because I'm a Samaritan woman. Jesus says, okay, well, let's just go there then. I came here for moments like this. I'm tired right now, but I'm not too tired. This is exactly why I'm on the planet. So I'm willing to go there if you're willing to go there. And here's where all the left turns start happening, and nothing is going to go normally from here to the end of this passage. I'd love for you to read this week because we're going to cover it between this week and next week. But Jesus is like, hey, this is exactly why I'm on the planet. This is why I'm here. And Jesus he chose not to just show up and attend, right? He was there, he was engaged, but he then went to the next step and he connected. So to connect, why is it so important for us to connect? Because we're not meant to do life alone. We're not. We need people. That's why we say better together. God created us for connection with him and connection with a community. Paul told the Philippians, we're meant to have a cause and a community. We need us. You need us. We need the encouragement, the support, the accountability that connections provide. We will accomplish more and be more than if we ever could alone. So you'll see, and just trust me on this one, Jesus says in verse 10 of chapter 4, if you knew the gift of God and who it is that's asking you for a drink, you would have asked him, meaning himself, and he would have given you living water. What a great moment. This lady's already like, why are you talking to me? And what she gets back isn't, well, I'm talking to you because, and then a list of reasons. No, the response she gets is, if you only knew the gift of God, and if you only knew who was talking to you, you would ask him and he would give you living water. And her response had to have just been like, whoa, like long, awkward pause. But the way that scripture comes together, it goes right to the next verse. But there could have just been like 15 minutes of shock and awe there. And finally, she goes into verse 11. She says, sir, you have nothing to draw water with, and the well is deep. Basically, hey, in case you haven't been to Jacob's well before, because you're not from around here, this is a really deep well. So you're not jumping down there, getting water, and then jumping back out, and you don't have a bucket. So where are you going to get this living water? She says, are you greater than our father Jacob, who gave us the well and drank from it himself, and also his sons and flocks and herds? Jesus lets her ask the questions, and he could have just said, yeah, I'm greater than Jacob. I'm absolutely greater than Jacob. I made the earth, by the way. Let me just get to the point. I know how deep the well is. I made the well. But instead, he says, everybody who drinks of this water will be thirsty again. But whoever drinks of the water that I give him will never thirst. It's a bold statement. I'm glad I didn't make that statement because I can't back it up, but Jesus could. Whoever drinks the water I give them will never thirst. Indeed, the water I give them will become in him a spring of water welling up to eternal life. And I want to take a little pause there, and then we'll jump back into the story. But a couple of things are happening. I want to make sure we're not just listening to a story unfold about the Samaritan woman, because this isn't about her. This is about us. God wants you to leave thinking and talking about you today. He wants us to walk away saying, man, he doesn't want us to leave saying, oh, man, that was so cool about what happened to that lady. It was really powerful stuff. No, God wants you to leave saying, hey, I have been steamrolled by Jesus. He's done something nobody else could do in my life. Because a little fast forward here, like I'm the woman at the well, and so are you. We are the women at this well. And what Jesus says to her is pretty powerful. He says, if you only knew. We like that phrase. We use it in conversations a lot. Well, if you only knew, but Jesus is trumping all the if only you knews that have ever been spoken. He's like, lady, if you had any clue, if you only knew who it was who's asking you, if you knew who was sitting here, and he tells her a little bit later when she says, I've heard there's a Messiah coming. He says, yes, there's a Messiah coming. And guess what? The guy talking to you is him. I am him. This is the Messiah right here at the well with you today. And what he's trying to say is, if you only knew who it was asking you questions and wanting to be involved in your life, you would say, would you give me living water? If you only knew. I think the reality is that most people don't really know who he is. I'll tell you why I think that, because most people don't really ask. We're not talking about the water into wine anymore, so let's get off that page. We're not talking about, hey, your car wouldn't start, so you pray to Jesus so it'll help your car start. I'm talking about like in here stuff, like under the layers, under the hood stuff. When you peel one layer off and you think you got there and there's another layer, and then you peel that off and another and another and another. And something under there is something inside you that just isn't right. And it can't be changed by any outward circumstances. And Jesus is saying, hey, I can do the water and the wine thing. He heals a guy's son at the end of John 4. And he wasn't even there. He was just like, hey, your son's going to live. And he was healed. Jesus is saying, I could do that stuff, but that's not what I'm talking about right now. I'm talking about your heart right now. If you just knew who I was, you'd ask me. You would ask me, and I'd get into your heart, and I'd do something in there that can't be done any other way. If you just ask. It's amazing to me how many of us bypass Jesus on the way to life, help, and support. And I'm not knocking doctors. I go to the doctor myself, or counselors, or self-help groups. I'm just saying there's a lot of times we go down those roads, but on none of those roads do we ever stand right before Jesus and say, hey, these roads are great, but you are greater than Jacob and Jacob's well. These roads are fine, but you're greater than all the roads and all the people on all the roads. You are Jesus Christ, the Son of the living God. So I'm coming to you first. I'm bypassing the system. I might stay in the system because I need support, I need encouragement, I need accountability, I need the process. I'm not bailing on the process, but I'm coming eyeball to eyeball with you, Jesus. And I'm saying, can you give me what I need? Because I have issues. And if you are who you say you are, and the words in the Bible are true, then I'm asking you to give me living water in my heart. Well, the woman said, good answer. So then verse 15, she says, hey, give me this water so that I won't get thirsty and have to keep coming here to draw water. Jesus is making a point. And what's underneath this point will be, well, no, ma'am, what I'm talking about is not this well and not your bucket and not water, not how deep the well is. I'm talking about something else here. Let me help you move on. So she says, give me water, give it to me. Verse 16, he says, well, I will, but go get your husband and come back. I want to say something. We're a skilled species because that fast, she replied, I don't have a husband. No thinking, no stressing, just looked right at him and said, oh, no, I don't have a husband. I want that living water. Cool. Just go grab your husband, come back, and I'll give it to you. It'll be like a couples event. Oh, I don't have a husband. Can I go ahead and get that water now? Now here comes Jesus. He says, yeah, that's right. Come to think of it, you don't have a husband. You did have 5 husbands. And then maybe Jesus listed them off, all 5. And then last night there was Harry. So you're right on that. You don't have a husband. Why does Jesus bring this up? Because eventually you have to move the conversation from the spiritual to the personal. Most people have been exposed to Christianity, but have concluded it's not relevant. We have to connect the dots and help them see this isn't about some 2,000-year-old book that some people believe in. It's about a God who knows you and loves you and can make all the difference in the world in your life. This woman's been married 5 times and was now living with a guy who wasn't her husband. She was the subject of other people's stares and whispers. J. Vernon McGee said one reason she may have not been real popular with the women of the town was because she was real popular with the men of the town. Like, had she divorced all those men one after another? Almost certainly not, because in those days, a woman couldn't really divorce her husband, but a husband could divorce his wife for just about anything. So whatever her story, it included 5 different marriages, and each marriage ended in disappointment. Each husband, it would seem, would promise to care for her and love her, and each husband left her wounded and lonely and broken. Why would you go shopping at 3 o'clock in the morning? Maybe because then you wouldn't have to see anybody. Why would this woman go to the well at noon? She didn't want to see anybody, except she did. She thought maybe she would pull one over on Jesus. And now she has to think really quickly. Again, she knows in this moment I have to go somewhere because I don't want to go down there. So she diverts in verse 19. She's like, you're a smart guy. I've been struggling with this theological question I'd like to ask about worship. It's like our father said to worship over on that mountain. The Jews say to worship in Jerusalem. I've really been thinking about this a lot, struggling with this. I've been praying, losing some sleep. Where's the right place to worship? And she's really hoping that the whole 5 husbands and the guy she's living with now thing will be forgotten. It's an interesting reality for me because as a pastor, I've had a lot of conversations with people like that. People don't know where to go when they find out what I do. I told you before, it happens a lot on the golf course. Like, what do you do? Well, I'm a pastor. They just used pretty bad language for the last couple of hours or told a joke or a story that they probably wouldn't have shared had they known I was the audience. And it's hilarious. So sometimes they'll bounce back and say, oh, it's interesting that you're a pastor because I've always had this question about the Bible. Deflection, right? The lady at the well is going to say, I'm not going to go there. I'm not going to my issues and my problems. I'm not going 5 marriages down to whatever it is underneath there that's broken inside me and is not satisfied. I want to stay up here and ask theological questions that people can't answer. Jesus said, if you only knew who was talking, you would ask him and he would give you living water. I'm glad Jesus was there that day, that she came and not the stereotypical Christian that a lot of people in the world think we are. So that lady would have gotten judged. She would have gotten condemned. She would have gotten a lecture. She would have had somebody staring at her like, who needs 5 husbands? Like, this is crazy. You're living with a guy right now? You know what that means? You get out of that house right now. You need to move out of there today. You want to talk to me? You need to move out and come back. Tell me you've moved out. Then I might talk to you. I might not talk to you. Been married 5 times or worse. The stereotypical Christian would have just left and said to their friend, you will never believe who I met at the well today. I met this lady who's been married 5 times and now lives with a guy who wasn't even her husband. Ooh, that's terrible. Like the Real Housewives of Samaria stuff, right? What is wrong with her? Then we get back in church and raise our hands and worship. So thankful. That is not what she got at the well. Because John 3 says, God didn't send his son into the world to condemn the world, but that the world might be saved through him. Which means somebody has to go into the wrong part of town. Somebody has to sit down with the wrong person in the wrong moment and look into the face of a person who's been through 5 of some things and is on their 6th one of those right now. You're like, man, I'm glad I haven't been married 5 times. I feel a lot better about myself. Well, maybe for you it was 5 something else's. 5 jobs, 5 rehabs, 5 relationships, 5 times down that road. Bought 5 of those, sold 5 of those, tried to earn 5 of those, got 5 of those diplomas framed on the wall, like 5 of something. But I'm so glad when Jesus saw that woman, he didn't give her a righteous lecture, but he made her an unfathomable offer right out of the gate. If you knew who I was, you'd ask me to give you living water, not a well that you come to, but a well that comes to you, not something you draw from, but something that takes root inside of your heart. I put the water inside of you, so wherever you are, anytime, any day, any moment, anywhere on planet Earth, you'd have the well inside of you, and you could draw from me. Any circumstance you find yourself in, anytime that thing starts creeping back in, you need me, you need this, you could say, I have a well now, and I don't have to go anywhere else to get to it. It's in me. Christ in me is the hope of glory. And I'm really glad Jesus looked her right in the face, and he knew, I'm in this body because of her. I'm on planet Earth because of her. I know the world is broken. I know people are getting divorced and living with other people. I know all that. That's why I'm here. I know people's lives are wrecked. I know people are in shambles. I know they're hurting. I know they got stuff under the hood that they don't want anybody else to see or know about. That's why I'm here. So you're not going to get a lecture. You're going to get an offer, and it's grace, it's healing, it's mercy, it's change, it's a miracle. It's something inside of you. That's what's on the table. And that's just half the story. But there's so much in that. I am so grateful for Jesus. I'm grateful for grace. I'm grateful for this story because it changes how we see ourselves. It changes how we see God. And it should change the way we see other people and how we connect and how we reach out to other people. So we hit attend and connect. Next week, we hit transform and send. And I'm excited about that. We'll hit the rest of the story next week. For those of you who are very concerned about what happens to this lady at the well, you can either read John 4 between now and then, wait till next Wednesday, or do both. Love to see you here, 7 o'clock next Wednesday. Remember to stick around, those of you who are local, after church this Sunday to help with Christmas decorations. Love you all. I will see you soon. Thank you, friends, that were here. I think I saw Nancy Breen. Nancy Breen, friend. Woohoo! That's why it's Wednesday night with best friends. Better together. Hope you all have a fantastic night. I will talk to you soon.